Today we're going to be taking a look at what I got from the Apple Store. So inside of this amazing and exciting Apple bag here, we have a cable and a MagSafe charger. Wow, I guess refurbished has changed a lot over the years, huh? Obviously, this is not directly from an Apple store. Maybe it came from one years ago, but at this rate, considering the scratched nature of it and, well, I mean, just the overall condition of this cable, yeah, this is not a new product. But just because it looks like it's in terrible condition doesn't mean that this should be thrown away. If it still works, you might as well fix this up and get some more usage out of it. Even though the cable looks horrible, it's nothing that we can't repair. Fortunately, it seems like the mains input side is in good cosmetic condition. Now you can tell that it is used and it's not perfect. Obviously, comparing this to a brand new cable, you can tell the difference. But this is at least in one piece, and all it really needs to make it look a little bit better and to feel better is a good cleaning. So this makes our job a bit easier because we don't actually have to repair this, we just need to clean it. This, however, definitely needs a lot more attention. If you're wondering why I'm going to spend the time in fixing up this charger instead of buying a brand new one, well, it's not like this is my only charger. I have other MagSafe chargers that are basically in brand new condition, but this one will be more of like an everyday type of charger where I won't really care if anything happens to it. It's already in such bad cosmetic condition, it's not like anything else is really going to destroy this. And besides, once we actually repair this portion, it's only going to further improve its reliability and the actual strength of the cable. And if you think that this is falling apart because of its age, well, let me show you a PowerBook charger. Now this one is in better cosmetic condition, it's nowhere near as bad as that one, but at the same time, even with usage, this cable is not actively falling apart like it is on the MagSafe charger. Everything about it seems to be perfectly fine, and, well, it's still in one piece. And in fact, here's another cable that is absolutely obsolete by today's standards, but as you can see, it basically looks brand new. There's literally no damage or yellowing to this cable, and I've used this cable a lot since I've had it, and it just keeps on going. So just because it's newer doesn't mean it's better. The main reason why this is happening to these newer cables and why the older cables are actually outlasting the newer ones, at least when properly taken care of, is because around 2009 and 2010, Apple switched the type of materials that they use to make their cables with. So this is kind of more of a plasticky type of feeling cable, but it still feels premium. So even though it may feel great when they're brand new, they're not exactly the best when it comes to reliability. And I'm not saying that these older types of cables are perfect, because it still depends on how well you take care of them, but you can certainly see that they do tend to outlast their newer counterparts. Like I said earlier, I don't really care about the cosmetics, I'm just going to use what I have on hand. Now I could get something like Sugru or heat shrink tubing, but because I don't have either of those things and I don't really want to spend any money on this, I'm just going to use what I have on hand, and that is electrical tape. Yeah, I know this is not really that great of a solution, it's not my first choice either, but it's what I do have. And it's going to make this a million times better because unless you really like handling raw wires, at least it'll be covered up. And at the same time, after we cover it up with electrical tape, I'm going to wrap the entire cable, at least the portion that we repair, with string to make it look and feel a little bit better than just the raw tape. And the string will also help to reinforce the cable itself because the tape can fall off over time, but the string will keep it in place and just make it that much stronger. You know, it would probably be a good idea to actually plug this in and test it out with the MacBook to make sure it's actually still worth saving. So with the charger plugged in, I've got the MacBook off to the side here with coconut battery opened up. The charger itself seems to be fine because it's not making any weird noises or anything like that. Time to actually plug it in. So it had the green LED light, and then it switched over to the amber charging light, which is a very good sign. The MacBook says that it's charging, and Coconut Battery says that the power adapter is connected. So we're good to go on the repair. By the way, if you saw that it said it was charging with 0 0.5 watts, well, don't worry, because Coconut Battery just took a second for it to update. It is charging now, and the battery percentage has already increased by 3% on this machine, so it is working as intended. It just took a second for it to refresh. Getting the MacBook out of the way, to start things off, I'm going to clean the entire thing with isopropyl alcohol. This will ensure that it's actually clean. It'll certainly look and feel a lot better than it currently is right now, and it'll also help out the tape by making sure there's no dirt or debris in the way between it and the cable itself. I'm going to skip over most of the cleaning because once you've seen a little bit of it, it's basically the same thing, just doing it for a while. I'm thinking that this part of the charger is going to reveal more hidden dirt and debris. Then again, you never know until you start cleaning. So basically, all you have to do is get some isopropyl alcohol on a paper towel or some sort of wipe. And, well, ideally the cable doesn't bundle in on itself, but you just have to wipe it down. So it actually isn't that terrible, but at the same time, given the fact of how much usage this has seen, it's still worth doing if it wasn't obvious from the damage. And it's already starting to look a little bit better. There's also stuff like this on the cable where just giving this a good wipe down will make it go away, and a simple clean really does go a long way. The MagSafe portion of the charger cleaned up rather well, and surprisingly, it really wasn't that bad to begin with. And unfortunately, a piece of the cable has fallen off, but really, considering the state it's in, it could be a lot worse. As for the brick itself, it really isn't in all that terrible shape considering how much use it's seen over the years. Really the only major damage, apart from the obvious scratching all over the housing, is a small little dent on this Apple logo here. Really, that's basically it. Most of the damage is really on the cable. You could probably also spend some time with some polishing compound if you really wanted to make this look like it's brand new, but for a charger like this, it really isn't worth it. And on the side here, it's a 85 watt MagSafe 2 power adapter with a copyright date of 2014. And here is the final result of the mains input cord. So overall, it cleaned up rather nicely. It's not 100% perfect, but for something like this, you can definitely tell that it's cleaner than it was before. I'm sure I could spend some extra time with it to really make it that much cleaner, but overall, it's not too bad. The cable itself does have some minor damage. However, compared to the MagSafe charger, this really isn't anything serious. It seems as if pressure was applied to this part of the cable here, and it left an imprint. However, because it isn't ripped or falling apart, this really isn't a problem, and it's nothing more than a cosmetic thing, because I didn't even notice this until I started cleaning it. And the only other noticeable thing I saw was on the plug portion itself. A little bit of the outer coating has worn down with usage. However, you can't even feel that anything's different with this. So considering this cable is fully cleaned and ready to go, we're done with it. So we can put it off to the side and finally deal with the MagSafe charger. I think the best course of action here is to start wrapping the cable from the brick portion of the charger, because even though there's less damage here, the brick itself is heavy and there's a lot more pressure being applied to this cable. And obviously the strain relief is there to reduce the pressure, but whenever it's split in half, it's not really doing its job. So I'm going to start with the electrical tape and wrap it from the cable where it split and wrap it closer to the brick. Now I'm doing a vertical portion like this because I want this to apply extra strength in this portion to ensure that the cable itself will remain strong. So the cable is protected, and now I'm going to take the roll of tape and just keep tightly wrapping it around what we've covered so far just to make it super strong. This wasn't exactly a fast process, but at least the end result was definitely worth it. It's not 100% perfect, but it's certainly a lot better, and it's definitely not going to snap now. But now, we're going to go ahead and add the string to make this even better. So the way I've decided to do this is I have a pre-cut section of string here, and instead of tying a knot, I'm just going to loop the string in on itself so it'll be more of a flush finish. So basically we have the string starting from here, and then we're going to wrap it all the way up to the strain relief portion, and this is going to take some time. Now, if this was something like Sugru or just a heat shrink tubing sort of application, then the string isn't really necessary, but the reason why I'm putting it on the cable in the first place is because, well, it actually helps to reinforce the electrical tape because the tape itself can slowly lose adhesion over time as it's always being moved around or exposed to a warmer temperature or whatever the case may be. It's tape and it can fail, but the string helps to reinforce it and it'll just last much longer than it already is. And it'll also be interesting to see how long this actually holds up because the end result is actually pretty solid. So here is the end result. Not too bad. It could have been even better than this, but honestly, it turned out pretty well, and I'm sure that this is going to last for quite a long time now. This was the easy part, because now we have to deal with what remains of the MagSafe portion. And I'm going to do the exact same thing like I did on this part, where I'm going to do an entire piece of electrical tape to cover it. This is a good start, but we're not going to stop here because this still needs a lot of reinforcement. This definitely took the most amount of time to do because it's a large section of cable and I kept having to readjust the tape. Here's the end result. Now, I know it's not perfect. I tried my best, and it was kind of difficult to actually wrap this around just because of how thin the remaining cable was, but it's certainly a lot sturdier now, and I think I'm going to end it off with another piece of electrical tape to make this a flush finish, and then we're going to cover it with string because this portion of the cable is going to get a lot of usage whenever you unplug and plug it in and, you know, do charger things with it. So I want to make sure that this is not going anywhere and it's going to continue to work. And here is the end result. So even though it looks like it's a bit overkill for something like this, at the same time you saw how bad it was because half of the cable was literally just missing and it basically had no strength left in it. I had around 20 minutes of raw video footage, and that's way too much time for something like this. I've just taken some sections out of the clips, and I've made it into a montage, which is infinitely more interesting, but it still gets the job done. You see the entire process of applying the string onto the cable, and the end result. And as you'll see in just a second, even though it took quite a long time to do it, the end result was certainly worth it. So this is the final result. Was it worth doing? Well, considering the rest of the cable is still in good condition, I definitely think so. And I'm sure that this could have gone by even faster if I didn't actually film it. It didn't cost me anything for the string or for the tape because I already had that. And if I went ahead and actually bought one of these chargers directly from the Apple Store, it would cost me $79 for something that I already have. So this was definitely worth doing because, well, this charger can continue to function instead of being tossed out as e-waste. And even though cosmetically it looks pretty bad, I'd say that this is actually a feature. With something like this, you can use this whenever and wherever and not be worried about its overall cosmetic shape. What's a few extra scratches going to do to this thing when the whole thing is already covered in scratches? With MagSafe 2, they made 3 different types of chargers. A 45 watt version, a 60 watt version, and the highest capable one, which is this one, an 85 watt variant. So when you combine that with the poor cosmetic condition, this really is a nice and convenient charger to have. And the other advantage with a charger like this is that you can have the option to connect it directly to the wall like this. However, if you want to extend it, you can, of course, add the extension cable, which we also cleaned up earlier. And because this cable actually came with this charger, and it's already in used condition as well, like the charger itself, I don't really have to worry about the cosmetics as long as it is still functional and obviously safe to use, because after all, this is electricity and you don't want to have an open cable. So to end today's video, I think we should bring back the MacBook and double check that it actually still functions after all of our hard work. The cable is plugged in and now we just need to try it out. And that's a fantastic sign. So it switched over to the amber light because this MacBook does not have a full battery and it shows that it is charging. And just to double check, if we flip it around, it does the same exact thing. So that is a very good sign. Let's open up the MacBook to double check. Okay, so that's a good sign here on the lock screen, and the same thing here when we're logged in. And here is coconut battery, power adapter is connected, and it is charging. I left it plugged in, and now it's at 100%, so it looks like it did its job just fine. It just goes to show that a small repair like this can go a long way, and if you've enjoyed today's video or found it useful, then consider leaving a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content just like this, then consider subscribing to the channel. However, that's going to be it for now, and as always, thank you very much for watching.